All right, good afternoon, everyone. This is Dr. Ryan Truchelut of WeatherTiger, and I'm bringing you the very latest today on Tropical Storm Nicole, which made landfall near Fort Pierce as a Category 1 hurricane overnight and is currently just over entering the Big Bend and approaching the eastern panhandle. So I'm going to go through all of what happened overnight with the highest winds, the biggest surge, the heaviest rainfall, where it has occurred, where it's going to occur over the course of the remainder of the day today. So I'm going to allow 90 seconds here for the audience to come in, and then I will dig right into the forecast. And if you have questions, feel free to type them in the chat box, and I will try to get to as many of those questions at the end of the forecast as I possibly can. All right, back in 75 seconds. Okay, good afternoon, everyone. This is Ryan Truchelut of WeatherTiger with a live update on Tropical Storm Nicole, bringing you the very latest on this wide ranging system which has been moving over the Florida Peninsula this morning and is now approaching the Panhandle. So let's get right into the forecast. In case you missed it, this is about the last 12 hours worth of satellite imagery for Nicole. It made landfall here around Fort Pierce right around 3 in the morning as a Category 1 hurricane with maximum sustained winds of 75 miles per hour. And then it has moved across the state of Florida over the past 8 to 10 hours and is now exiting into the extreme northeast Gulf of Mexico, right around Homosassa Springs, south of Cedar Key. Over that time, it has weakened somewhat, and it's down to a tropical storm. It's no longer a hurricane, but is still packing wide-ranging wind, surge, and rain impacts across the state. So this is the infrared satellite imagery, and I'm bringing this up just to show that even though Nicole has been inland now for about 10 hours, as of recently, it had a pretty decent amount of convective activity right around the center of circulation in here, and those deeper oranges and yellows are all kind of taller, more potent thunderstorm activity. And there was actually even a few lightning strikes even just a few hours ago here in west central Florida, which is indicative of pretty strong convection. That's waned a little bit as Nicole has continued to move northwest. So this is the current radar, and you can see that here's the center of circulation that's basically right on the coast, just south of Cedar Key. You got this big band of heavy rainfall activity pushing through the eastern panhandle, as well as across southern Georgia, and another area of heavy rainfall across the Nature Coast in west central Florida that's going to be rotating north and west over the remainder of the afternoon as well, and bringing the Big Bend, north central Florida, and the eastern panhandle back into some heavier rainfall later in the afternoon. So we can tell where the center is using a couple of different tools, and hopefully this will reload. In the meantime, while it loads, these areas in red, those are areas under inland tropical storm wind warnings, and these areas in kind of this darker red, those are the areas where there's an inland tropical storm wind warning and a flood watch in effect because of heavy rainfall. So here are the current wind observations across the state, and you can see there's that circulation center right in here in kind of northern Hernando or southern Citrus County, and moving northwest and offshore as we speak. Another way you can find the center is find where the lowest pressure is. So this is another map of weather stem weather observations across the state, and here are those lowest pressures right around 988 millibars still as we go into the afternoon hours. So no slouch in the low pressure department is Nicole, even after crossing the state. So this is the track map for the 1 p.m. intermediate advisory from the National Hurricane Center for Nicole, and you can see they've got the center of circulation right on the coast there in southern Citrus County. Maximum sustained winds have declined to 45 miles per hour from landfall intensity of 75 miles per hour, and movement is now northwest, bending further north as we go through the day today at 15 miles per hour. That's likely to both accelerate to, say, 20 miles per hour and turn more to the north as we head into the overnight hours. Really no big changes to the forecast track. Nicole is going to just clip into the northeastern Gulf of Mexico and eastern Appalachia Bay here over the next 6 hours or so before coming ashore once again somewhere in central or eastern Appalachia Bay. And that's really not going to be any kind of re-intensification as it moves over water, because the water temperatures here in the northeastern Gulf of Mexico are in the mid and upper 70s, which is too cool for re-strengthening to occur, fortunately. And that's fortunate because certainly Nicole packed a punch as it made landfall. So this is a map of the highest wind gusts recorded across central and northern Florida since midnight, and landfall point somewhere down here, kind of near Fort Pierce, with a track through Winter Haven and then kind of bending up towards Citrus County. And it was this northern eye wall feature that moved ashore in the early hours of the morning between, say, 2 and 6 a.m. that brought hurricane-force wind gusts all the way up to into Volusia County, through Brevard County, and then south here into Indian River, Martin and St. Lucie counties. And as that kind of northern eye wall core moved inland, East Central Florida saw some very impressive wind gusts with this feature as it moved in. 66 mile per hour wind gust at the Orlando Executive Airport. Lots of gusts into the upper 50s and lower 60s here across East Central Florida. More general wind gusts across North Florida in the kind of upper 40s or 50s. We've seen wind gusts up to the lower 60s in Jacksonville. There was a wind gust in Gainesville of 62 miles per hour a few hours ago as well. Further north into the Big Bend and Eastern Panhandle, so far top wind gusts are right around 40 miles per hour. Tallahassee sitting about 30 as we're just getting into some of the windier conditions with this storm. So these are live wind gusts from the WeatherStem observation network, and you can see that there's wind gusts here in the 30s and lower 40s across the Eastern Panhandle, and then wind gusts here across North Florida in the 40s and 50s, and that's all going to be pivoting northwest as we go through the afternoon hours. As we go into the afternoon hours, we have seen with those gustier winds some scattered power outages across the state. 40, 50 mile per hour winds, they're not going to damage a well-built structure, but they can knock down trees and knock out power. So that's certainly something that we'll probably see more of here in the Eastern Panhandle as we go through the afternoon hours. So this is a map of the current wind field of Nicole. You can see that center of circulation right there on the coast, and a broader area north and northwest of the center. These oranges are areas where the wind gusts are, basically between 40 and 60 miles per hour in this range here, and also this kind of pocket of these stronger winds moving over north central Florida will be moving northwest towards the Big Bend and the Eastern Panhandle over the next few hours. So I would say that going forward, probably your next 6 hours are when you're most likely to see those 40 to 50 mile per hour wind gusts here in the Eastern Panhandle. You'll be seeing winds wind down starting in a few hours here in north central Florida, and tropical storm force winds will hang on for a few more hours in gusts here in central Florida before tapering off into the later afternoon. Again, so this is the current radar, and just to show you, it's this kind of piece in here. That's where some of those 50 plus mile per hour wind gusts are located, and again, that's moving northwest as the storm does, and we'll bring those tropical storm force wind gusts into the Eastern Panhandle, likely including Tallahassee here as we go into the afternoon hours. Next 6 hours being the windiest for us here in the Eastern Panhandle. In terms of surge, those winds did result in the expected 3 to 5 feet of storm surge that the NHC was calling for along the east coast of Florida. And then we need to look for, as we go through the afternoon and evening hours tonight, the potential for as much as 3 to 5 feet of surge here along the Nature Coast and into eastern Appalachia Bay. Not so much in western Appalachia Bay, where I think the winds are going to stay offshore. So we'll get to that in just a minute. Here's there's live tidal gauges that NOAA is monitoring, and hopefully they'll pull up here in just a second with a little bit of patience, and we'll be able to take a look at some of that live data. Again, there's the center of circulation along the coast. Here's the expected position at around 7 o'clock. Okay, tide gauges. So here in Brevard County, we're seeing the surge decline after peak surge at major flood stage here in Port Canaveral with about 3 feet of surge right around high tide this morning. That 3 feet of surge, a pretty significant value there. Not a whole lot of cases of surge being that high on the record. Here at Mayport in Jacksonville, again with the morning high tide, major flood stage was hit about 3.5 feet above normal high tide level, which was actually a higher high tide or higher surge in Mayport than was observed during Hurricane Matthew. So as we go on the other side of the state, however, if we take a look here over in Cedar Key, we've actually seen anti-surge or water levels below the normal high tide values. And that's because the winds have been blowing offshore. If you take a look at a live camera from the St. Mark's Wildlife Refuge, you can see those mud flats extending out where the Appalachia Bay typically is, and that's because the winds are offshore right now. Now, if we go forward with time, here's the current wind field from the H-Wharf model, and we can see, here's St. Mark's. We've got those winds blowing north to south and offshore as Nicole's moving back over the water. However, we are switching back around to onshore flow here north of Tampa Bay for that afternoon high tide, so we're going to need to watch kind of the northern Tampa Bay area to see if we get a dangerous surge here with the afternoon high tide coming up in the next couple hours. So going forward with time, as Nicole moves towards central Appalachia Bay and then north here through the general vicinity of Tallahassee as we go into the evening hours tonight, the wind direction across eastern Appalachia Bay will switch around to onshore flow out of the south and the southwest, and that's what could drive those surge values of 2 to 4 feet here in the Nature Coast and eastern Appalachia Bay. So something to watch carefully as we go through the afternoon and evening hours. Rainfall has also been a major impact of Nicole. These are totals over the last 3 days of what's already been observed. Got a broad area across east central Florida where rainfall totals have been anywhere from 4 to 6 inches. That's also true in northeast Florida, and with that heavy pocket of rainfall just north of Tampa and over the Tampa Bay area in west central Florida. So going forward with time, here's what we expect starting now and going forward. We've got another couple inches of rain likely across the eastern panhandle, primarily through the afternoon and evening hours tonight, and then with lingering showers through the morning hours tomorrow morning. That 2 to 3 inches across the panhandle in north central Florida is the heaviest rain we've got left. Everybody else is kind of clearing out from southeast to northwest here. Wouldn't expect much additional rainfall in east central Florida going forward, for instance, even though your winds will be still breezy through the afternoon hours. So here's the southern half of the storm, and you can see that pocket of that heavy rainfall with the center of circulation moving offshore. And this heavy rainfall is kind of wrapping around. It's going to be pushing through the Big Bend and eastern panhandle here over the next 4 to 6 hours. And here's the northern half of the storm. And again, all this showery stuff in here, there's actually some pretty decent wind gusts into the 40s with that. So that will continue to impact Tallahassee. Tallahassee is just coming through a heavier band. Things will get lighter and more intermittent for the next few hours, and I think we'll get back into some more often on heavy stuff as we head towards 3 or 4 in the afternoon through around the 8 o'clock hour. And one final thing I wanted to mention is that there have been occasional tornado warnings, especially for northeast Florida, Jacksonville area, over the course of the morning, and there's a tornado watch in effect now for coastal Georgia just north of Jacksonville. So keep an eye out for tornadic activity as you go into southeast Georgia or even the Carolinas over the course of the day. So just want to do one last check through to see if there's been any new breaking info that has happened since I've gone live here. Still a lot of storm surge reports coming in from east central and northeast Florida. And there's a number of tropical storm wind gust reports here developing in the eastern panhandle. Apalachicola has a 40 mile per hour gust. Perry's had some gusts into the 40s. Keaton Beach down in Taylor County has a 51 mile per hour gust reported. And let's just see anything else. Nope, that's about it. All right, so I'm going to look for questions now to see if there's anybody who has any that they want to get addressed. What are the odds of Nicole strengthening when it gets in the Gulf before it hits land again? As I said, it's not likely to re-strengthen at all, simply because the water temps are so cool in the northeastern Gulf. We can thank that untimely freeze and frost across North Florida that we got at the end of October for cooling off those Gulf temps. So that's a plus. It's a relief. Don't have to worry about that. But we will see 40 to 50 mile per hour gusts across the eastern panhandle and north central Florida over the remainder of the day. Nevertheless, even though it is not going to strengthen. All right, and I think I will wrap it up there. Stay safe, Florida. Looks like tomorrow's weather will be much better for everyone across the state. Just a few lingering bands and showers across the eastern panhandle and north Florida. And then we get a nice cold front over the weekend. It's something to look forward to, feeling like fall again and not summer or hurricane season. All right, stay safe, Florida. This has been Dr. Ryan Truchelut with WeatherTiger. Keep watching the skies.